What's up? Hey, oh my God. Hey guys, what's up? Isn't it also so funny that everyone uses like mini mics now? This is like the only mic that I have to do decent audio. So I am also participating in mini mic culture. I'm starting a YouTube channel and I'm not really sure why. I honestly had the idea like a day ago, and in true me fashion, I'm already like set up and recording the first video. And I'm doing this thing this year where I do things even though I don't know why I feel like I should do them. This is me just straight up listening to my intuition without asking too many questions, but I honestly couldn't really tell you what this channel is going to look like. I think it's going to be a lot of shit posting, but in thinking about starting a YouTube channel and like having this idea, I once again bumped my head up against the idea of perception. And it might seem kind of funny coming from me, considering like I'm a year deep in the Upstairs Neighbors podcast with Dom, and that whole experience has been super like eye-opening and challenging in its own ways, especially when it comes to perception. But it might feel a little silly that I would be at all nervous or anxious about being perceived, but like that does not ever go away. It's simply a practice. So, in lieu of being a thought daughter, I thought I would kind of just talk a little bit about what that looks like and kind of where I'm anchoring myself. So, if anybody has any ideas that they're hesitant on, or I don't know, just feels the kind of like pressure of fear of perception. Like, let me talk. Can I have a second of your time? The pod has been a huge life changer for me. And if you're a listener, you know that it is something that I just never thought that I would do. Like, I never thought I would be in front of a camera at this capacity. And again, I just had the idea of starting a YouTube channel, and I genuinely do not know why I feel like I would have so much fun. Me saying I don't know why I would have so much fun. Mama Maddie knew who she was from a young age, because the real tea is that when I was a kid, I used to make YouTube videos in my room all the time just for fun. Because guys, if you were here, you were here, like the golden age of YouTube, like Zoella, Alfie, like bitch vlogs, like we were just making necklaces. You know what I mean? Like the golden age of YouTube, it was calling to me. The sea was calling. I guess I can't completely say that video creation isn't something that I've been interested in. And then high school, I made videos. College, I would make videos for memories. And I think one of the things that really appeals to me and is pushing me towards go in this situation is the idea of documentation. If you are somebody who kind of holds back and gets stuck with like putting your art out there, I don't know, sometimes I feel like creating anything feels like this huge thing. Like it feels much bigger than it actually is a lot of the time. And Art and Fear, one of my favorite books ever, like literally my Bible, changed my whole perspective on creating. They talk about the idea of art and creation being documentation. And I think that's something that, you know, is singing to me in the battle between whether or not I was gonna actually listen to this little voice in my head. I'm in the last couple years of my 20s, which I say with pride and my head held high. Life is just getting started. But something about documenting like the last couple years and just around and like making videos and having fun, that does appeal to me now that I have like a frontal cortex, and I look back on like the videos that I made in high school and middle school, and I'm like, ugh, so glad you did that, Diva, because now I can like look at you in the eye. I'm sure 35-year-old me is gonna love to look back at me in my 20s and be like, wow, girl, like you better work. Also, life is all about finding out what you like, sure, but also finding out what you don't like. And so the reality is, I'm going to give this a shot and do it if it feels good, and do it for as long as it feels good. And if I don't like it, or if it doesn't feel good, I'm just going to stop, because I can do that and I have autonomy. You know what I mean? I've had to confront the fear of perception a million times over. And I think where I'm landing the plane and where I've been kind of this past year, where I am presently, and what I'm going to use moving forward is I just got to be honest. You know what I mean? I do think as long as you're hashtag real, hashtag honest, like I don't know why I'm suddenly becoming RuPaul.
We do not need lotion in our tissue.
But if you're honest and you're real in anything that you do, but especially like things that you kind of offer publicly, like content or art or anything like that, I think that being authentic and being real is what makes it manageable, because then the anxiety becomes something that we're all familiar with, which is, do I like myself? You know? Eventually, anything that you make and share becomes a mirror. For example, do you guys mind if I share like my anxiety with the class? Had the idea to make a YouTube channel. Okay, she keeps talking about it. Whatever. gonna do it because it feels like it makes sense for some weird reason that I can't really tell. It's kind of above me. That's fine. I'm following that these days. And the first kind of anxiety being like, well, what if people don't find it interesting? Or what if it doesn't do well? Or what if, being kind of like the realist version of myself on the internet like isn't enough? And my love, that becomes a mirror. When I think about it and boil it down to what the fear is, which is like fear of, I don't know, like rejection or fear of, I don't know, being boring or something, those all become insecurities and anxieties that I already deal with like day to day, my love. Because at some point it's just like, okay, well, if other people don't think that you're interesting, do you think you're interesting? Or if other people don't think that you're funny, slay, sexy, cool, do you think you're funny, slay, sexy, cool? And the answer is not always so black and white. Like, obviously, I am human too. Like, I have a bunch of insecurities and they come up and they get louder here and there. But ultimately, it does boil down to yes, I would like to think yes. I've done a lot of work to feel comfy and feel like I love my life and I'm interested in my life every day and I love my friends and I love everyone around me and I love myself. So what's the fear? Secondly, artists, let's talk, me and you. I've realized that marinating with the idea of content creation and being maybe more public with myself, like with just offering myself to the public, there is this deconstruction, this decolonization that's been happening in my mind, at least, of like what that means in terms of artistic identity. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who's ever felt like this, and that's totally fine too. But I've been doing art since I was very, very young. Like, as long as I've had consciousness, I've been doing something creative. Like, I grew up dancing and then I kind of seamlessly moved into like video editing and then photography, all these things, whatever. So I've always been a creative, right? But like, when I was younger, being a creative just meant having fun and like doing things that I like to do. And it still does in a lot of ways, but I think you get to a certain age to where you're expected to create like an artist identity. You get to a point to where people are like, well, are you an artist or not? And then it becomes building yourself as an artist. Who are you artistically? What's your eye? What's your identity? And with that, I personally feel like there is this push towards elusiveness and you only do your art and the artist is only an artist and you live and you bleed and you die by your art and that's all that you do. And that's what makes you valid in some way, or that's what makes people take you seriously. So for me, like, especially when we were starting the pod, I remember having this like insecurity and this anxiety a lot of like, well, if I'm more vocal online, even if it's like who I am and I show up very authentically and I joke how I joke with my friends and it's just like, oh, just a camera happens to be here and people can see it. Does that like devalue my worth as an artist? And does that make me less of an artist? Does that make me less serious about my craft? And it's funny because I'll say it out loud like that and then I'm like, no. But just in, I don't know, society and the world that we live in, like it's really easy, at least in my opinion and in my experience, to feel like, being silly online or showing your kind of like human, funny side does not necessarily align with wanting to be taken seriously as an artist. So that's another thing that makes me a little nervous is, I don't know, just what that specific kind of perception looks like for me. And if, me vlogging my silly little days will make my art less or more valuable, which ultimately I know that the answer is no. But if I'm just sharing my anxieties with you guys, those are my anxieties. And if anybody, feels similarly or has like a similar feeling and that's holding them back from creating, then I implore you to create anyway and also allow yourself to live as a human on the internet if that's what you want to do. Girl, be the change you wish to see in the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Sasha Velour season 9 verse. She probably isn't the only person who's ever said that, but that idea is kind of what grounds me and brings me back into the idea of, yes, it's okay to share your life on the internet because ultimately, whether you're working with me as a photographer or just seeing me as a human, I'm like the same person. And artists should be encouraged and allowed to not be, living in their one bedroom, no lights, but a single candlelight, like house on the hill, to be seen as great. I also think that kind of elusiveness and that standard that we hold ourselves to of being just artists, like this is all I do, is what makes people feel like they can't identify with the creative in themselves, or maybe what makes us kind of have this idea that you need to do a certain set of things to be an artist, when ultimately, my love, like regardless of whether I vlog or not, I am always doing art. So I guess it doesn't really matter. Just being like hashtag honest about the many faces. But hopefully like me starting a, shit posting YouTube channel won't get in the way of the movie that I'd like to do in 5 years that will be super serious and I will be taking very seriously as an actor. Blah, 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 blah. All that to say, I genuinely cannot promise you what this channel is going to look like. I don't know if I'm going to do it for 2 weeks or 5 years. I don't know what the vibe is, but I've always had the itch to document my life, I guess, or just make silly little videos and have fun and document myself and my friends and blah, blah, blah. I guess I've always had that bone, and I'm just making the conscious decision to make that a public thing that I will share with other people, even though that makes me nervous because the voice within says that this is something that I should do for some reason. So I guess we'll find out together. So that's the vibe I'm on right now, currently. If you have anything that you'd like to, I don't know, see me talk about on here or do or say or play or whatever, let me know in the comments because I will definitely take some inspo. Although I have a couple things I want to do. Like my vow on this channel too is to only make things that I want to make and never make anything if it feels like work. Anyway, subscribe if you would like to come along on this journey. Thank you for watching if you've watched this far, and loving everyone horribly. And I hope you go out and make something today. I'll see y'all back here for whatever videos I make. Goodbye.